Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with another live video. We are going to be coloring in gnomes in the channel. Sorry about that. Right, so we are going to be coloring in gnomes in the neighborhood. A big thank you to everyone who voted, and yeah, you guys chose gnomes in the neighborhood. That was the majority vote, and I'm very excited to be coloring in it. Now, the mediums we're going to be using today are the, I'm going to use a lot of water-based mediums. So Neocolor IIs, I've got my Pearl Colors by Denyse Klette out. I've also got watercolor paints by Mei Liang. I've got Castle Art Watercolors and Castle Art Original Pencils. I don't have the gold, so we're going to use the pencils, the original pencils instead. So I'm really looking forward to this, even though I'm not somebody who's very confident in watercolor. I try use it more as a base or for backgrounds, but we're going to have a look and see how much we can do with different water-based mediums. So I have a majority asking for the mermaid page. So this is the page that we are going to work on today. And as always, if there is another page that you would like to see colored in, what I can do is just add that to my coloring planner, and we can work on getting that done. So I'm going to be really honest, I don't have much of a color palette planned out. I am going to be working on layers. So I'm going to start with light layers first and build up the intensity of the color as we go. I just recently did a picture with watercolors in the background, and I found that by layering the watercolors, I got a much better background than what I have done in the past. So I really want to practice that technique again. And then I'm going to use watercolor pencils on the rest of the picture. So the fish, the mermaid, the gnome, and that sort of thing as a base. And then we'll see how we go. I'm not yet 100% sure if I'm going to do the whole thing in watercolor or not. But yeah, let's see how we go. I'm thinking I might do the mermaid a lilac kind of glow to her. And I see in the Castle Art Watercolors there are a couple of skin tones, so we could possibly work on using that as well. So I just need to get some water. Unfortunately, I have here my bottles of water for my plants, so I can quickly pour some of that water into a bottle, and voila, we have water. Okay, so I'm going to probably start with the sky, and I want to create it that there's a bit of sunlight hitting him, and he's basking in the sunlight, so I'm going to have to work around with that and see how we get on. Of course, I need paintbrushes, so if you are coloring along with me, you're going to need some nice paintbrushes. I'm going to use these two. They're quite thick, and I find they work quite well. Water, and then I'm going to use a paper towel to help me clean off my brush. Now, in my swatch chart, I've gone and hidden my watercolor swatch. So let's pull that out. So if we have a look here, I'm probably going to try the fresh blue, and then I might add in a bit of white, maybe touch in a little bit of cadmium yellow. So let's get that all prepared. This paper is really nice and thick, so it's going to take a lot more water than say some of the other coloring books do. And if we go this way, we can get the whole page. Right. So let's get some of that blue in. What are we looking at? So it's in rows. 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now I don't use the fresh blue too much, so this is going to be a good experience to actually use this color a bit more. So I want to really mix it because the more the less water I have, the more I'm going to get a darker paint. The more water I have on my paintbrush, the lighter the paint is going to get. Alright, so we want to start off first with more of like a wash. And I've got my paper towel in here to help me make sure I'm getting a nice coverage. And then I'm going to just pull this down for you so you can see. What we want is a light blue. So I'm thinking sort of along here we will have the sun will kind of come in here. Right, so how are you all doing? I hope that you are all well. Have you had a good start to your week? Alright, it is going to look quite splotchy, but we're going to work on that. So now I want to pick up some of my white paint, and I don't need to clean off my paintbrush at the moment because I want a blue tinge to kind of still be around. And anytime I feel I've put too much of one color and I just want to soften it, I'm just going to go ahead and dab on my paper towel. So I do want to have just the faintest amount of blue kind of coming in here. And you're going to see as we layer it, it will start to take shape. It's just right now, I'm a little nervous because it's unfamiliar, you know. wipe it off, just take off all that yellow in my paintbrush and come back in for some of that white. So I'm wanting to make sure it's damp so that my colors can right, I want a bit more of the white. Alright, I'm going to let that dry so I don't damage the paper, and I'm going to come back to my my Neocolors. Hi Leslie, how are you? I'm sorry that you're having a fiber flare today. I can't imagine how uncomfortable that must be. Okay, so let's see. So from the water, I want to create the bottom of the page. I want it to be a bit darker at the bottom, kind of going light up at the top. So I'm going to work from my lightest color, and I want to try and create a bit of, I'm going to need a bit of blue in here. Sorry, not blue, yellow in here to kind of show this, the moon, not the moon, my goodness me, the sun. Sort of hitting on it. So this is the yellow, just the standard Neocolor yellow, and then I'm going to have like rays of white in here. I don't want to bring yellow in. So, and I find with the Neocolors, you need to actually use quite a lot of them. Now under here it's going to be dark because that's going to cast a shadow down. I'm going to most likely color over all these bubbles, but what I'm going to use is white acrylic paint, and we will flick the bubbles on. So we'll still add them. Alright, so let's think. We want to create sort of like rays kind of coming in. We can have it that she's sort of getting a bit of light on this part of her face. I don't think it has to be perfect. You know, water has movement to it, so if it has a little bit of movement, I think it could work to our advantage. But I do want to create like a bit of lightness up here, even if it's not going all the way down into the depths. I don't know about you, but I found that sometimes I know what to do in theory, but applying it, that's where the trick comes in, and I sometimes don't always know how to apply things. So if we, I'm basically going to create a gradient from dark blue to light blue. So maybe if we use some of the Cobalt Blue, and I might use a little bit of Malacite Green. We'll see, I might not. Be bold, be daring, you know. Now I don't mind if the yellow makes the water a little bit green, because if you've ever looked at the ocean, it actually, there is a greenness to it. It's not always, you know, blue. Sometimes it's a greenish blue. So that's where having the malachite green woven in would actually probably work quite well. Just gives it a different look. And then if we have the light blue in here, or maybe the Cobalt Blue. And then back to the blue turquoise. Alright, so then we want the Cobalt Blue to come in. And I am going to even layer up these Neocolors. So while everything is drying, I will just work on other parts of the picture, and as things dry, I'll move in and out. Okay. And then if we use minimal water, it's going to really help with the Neocolors. The other thing you can do if you want is have a piece of paper next to you, and then you can scratch the crayon or the pencil onto a piece of paper, use your paintbrush with water, and then pick up the paint that way and put it onto your page. And all that does is it just helps get rid of any lines when you're using these sort of mediums. But I don't mind because I'm planning on layering, so can put a bit of light over here, and we can always come in with, this is light blue. If we need to, we can always use acrylic white paint and just add in any extras that we need. Back to that turquoise blue. And then the light blue here. So we can create a little bit of a halo around these fish. Right, so coming down into here, I'm going to need a dark blue. So I'm going to get my Prussian Blue. Now I did see earlier today, I was on YouTube looking at how do I color or paint underwater scenes, and I couldn't get something that looked like this. I did see somebody do light coming into the ocean, so I understand I need to do a bit of lighting that way, but I don't have much practice with it. Anyway, they used dark blue at the bottom, and then it got lighter towards white going up to the top. So I thought, well, that's something I could possibly do to try and draw attention to what's going on here. Inexperience, though, will come through because, you know, it's not my forte. The only way we get good at something is just with practice. So I'm actually grateful for books like this book because it does give practice in coloring with different mediums. So what, you know, you can practice your watercolor and you don't have to worry too much about perfect blending. So I also was looking at some of Coloring with Elena's videos, and she was saying, you know, when it comes to her pictures, she doesn't, in the Denyse Klette, she doesn't worry too much about perfect blending. She just experiments and enjoys the book and the designs. And I actually thought that's probably a good way of approaching Denyse Klette's books, because it frees you up to try new things. And if we don't get perfect blending, it's not a problem, because, I mean, if you look at these fish, they're really tiny. It's really difficult with small illustrations to get ideal blending and that sort of thing. So I thought, actually, she makes a really good point. I'm going to use my Castle Arts. I'm going to use watercolor. I'm going to practice and try and just have fun. And hopefully we can have this done in one night. And then, yeah, see how it goes, kind of thing. So I want the light blue. So I'm just playing with my blues. I've got light blue, I've got turquoise blue, Prussian blue, I've got, I think, what's it, turquoise blue as well out. And I'm just kind of feeling my way around this. And I'm also allowing the Neocolors to kind of blend out a bit as well for me. Because, yeah, I have found that the more pigment you've got, the better they blend and the smoother the painting is. And then I go for my light blue. I quite like this one. I find this light blue is actually blending really nicely into the Prussian blue. So I really do like that. going to bring in some of the Cobalt Blue up here. And then I'm going to go into the Turquoise Blue here. Then I want some of that Cobalt Blue down here. Some of the Prussian Blue. Kind of doing that. Okay, let's wet this and see how we go. So I want to make sure I've got a clean brush. I need my paper towel. And I don't need a whole lot of water. So I'm also going to keep my other brush on hand as well. All right. So we're going to come here into the white area and slowly just work with this color. So I need to be careful I don't pull up too much of my dark blue into my light blue. And we also don't mind if it's slightly splotchy because we do want to create a watery look. I don't want to have it that my picture is so smooth that it doesn't have any movement to it. So we do need to try and remember to create some movement in the water. So I'm actually using paintbrushes that I got for acrylic painting. So I've decided I need to actually buy myself more watercolor type paintbrushes. So I've put that in my Amazon basket. I just need to go out and check it out and actually buy it, because I think that they will maybe be a bit more flexible. And then every now and then I'm still cleaning off my brush and I'm trying to just take off any excess paint. Like here, this is a bit too much here. I'm trying to neatly go around the picture. So this is where I'm probably going to need to bring in my smaller brush. I quite like what the under the boat is looking like. Okay, I'm going to swap brushes now so I can get into these smaller details a bit better. So I find when I'm coloring and I have a drink nearby, it's normally a decaf coffee, my coffee will regularly go cold because I get so absorbed in what I'm doing. So I got a travel mug for my birthday as one of my gifts, and I decided that I made myself a coffee in it at about, I think it was about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I still haven't finished drinking my coffee, and it's in my travel mug, and I decided, well, I'll bring it here and it can sit with me, so if I do get thirsty during the live, I've got a drink, and at least I know it will stay warm, because the amount of times I heat up my coffee is ridiculous. Some days I'll heat up the same coffee or decaf 3 times before it actually gets finished. There's just so much going on. I'm really liking these colors. So what I might do is I might pick up different parts of the Neocolor as I'm blending it out, and then move it around the fish so that everything kind of gets a bit of paint. In some ways it's going to be very difficult to not get blue paint on these fish. Just wipe that off. I mean, I've already gone over the fins of some of these fish. Never mind. Well, if you have any ideas for the fish and the mermaid or the gnome, please let me know. I haven't really planned too much of a color palette, which is probably not a good idea, as that can mean if I don't finish a page, that's often where I trip up. It's when I don't have my colors planned. I am thinking a little bit of maybe purple or yellow. I don't know if maybe green should be used somewhere. Maybe we do a bright green. Let me know your thoughts. If nothing else, at least we'll do a color along on how to use Neocolor IIs, how much water to use, and how to blend them. So if you want to blend it out, just wipe off any excess on your paper towel and you can blend it out that way. You really don't need a lot of water when it comes to Neocolor IIs. So I always lift off some water in the paintbrush, dab it on the paper towel, and then carry on applying. Wipe off any excess and then blend out. Sometimes I do find it tricky to know at what points is enough Neocolor. Because I do think you can definitely have your Neocolor too light. But I haven't figured out yet if it can be too dark. I think it most likely just depends on the effect you're going for. I do find there aren't a whole lot of tutorials out there on Neocolor IIs, which I think is a pity because it is a really great medium to use, and I think we underuse it. I mean, I've seen people they try to create beautiful portraits and all sorts of works of art with Neocolors, which is really spectacular. But there's no, unless you're watching those, there's no way of knowing always how to apply it in your coloring book. Which is a pity, because I think it's a great medium to use in our coloring books. Right. Sorry guys, I know this is a long process, but I think, well, there's no way of really speeding it up. I don't really know how to speed up a live. And it's not the kind of thing really that I would want to stop midway and come back to. It's quite a lot of blending going on here. Making sure each color transitions into the other smoothly, but also to keep that watery texture going on. I'm almost done, and then I'll move back to the sky. I've got some work on the sky still to do, and I really want to take my time with it because I want to show you that what I've been learning about layering watercolor paint. So I'm thinking that this water part has probably got enough pigment on it. I most likely won't need to really do too much work on it, but I'll let it dry first, and then we can go in with some more of the Neocolors. But I think what I'll do is I'll go straight in with the brush off the crayon, and that would probably work better to touch it up. And we could actually give her red hair and a green tail. Maybe do her green and red, and then his thing could be, I don't know, maybe we weave in some yellow. Right, we're getting there. Too much water, so I just dab it off. Getting there. Slowly but surely we're getting there. So just going very carefully in these very small nooks and crannies. If you have a smaller brush, I would recommend you use a smaller brush for these, because they are really tricky. And you always want to start with your lightest color and blend into your darkest color. And here you can see sometimes my light color overpowers my dark color. So here we want to try and blend this out a bit more. So again, just working on light to dark, trying to blend these in. I'm just swapping different brushes now. So there is a level of smoothness you do want to get in your painting. You don't want too many jagged lines, and you want to have those shadows and the highlights, and it's just working with it to blend it out. You can also use your paper towel to dab and pick up any excess. There, for instance. So I'm quite liking this light up here at the top. I think it's sort of working. Whether the positioning is correct or not, I don't know. But I do like it because it does have that contrast of her coming out of deep waters towards where he is. So I'm happy with that. So if I bring in some of this now, so this is the light blue, and I pick it up off here. I can try dab it in. Oops. And then the turquoise blue. And this is how you can start adding more layers and smoothing out your picture. And this is really how we're going to sort of fix this up. And then if you need to, you can bring in your whites. And we can blend this out. So this part is all dry now, so we can easily go over it with multiple layers. Ah, thanks Leslie, I'm glad you like the idea. I don't want to color onto the paper anymore with these colors. I want to really touch up and get it to really look more, I don't know, I suppose, how do I put it? I suppose I just want to enhance it really. You can take a deeper brush, a bigger brush if you need to. And again, I just dab most of the water off. So when I did that Fairy in Midnight Masquerade with the galaxy background, I realized there that using more of the Neocolor than less actually works so much better to get the effects that I'm going for. But now I have to learn balancing the colors and blending the colors so that it works for me. And then I've been watching, like I said, watercolor videos, and I found this one lady who also looks at watercolor pencils. So I've been trying to learn how are you supposed to really use these mediums, because she started as and she self-taught herself, and she used coloring books as well, which I think is really, really cool. And I really want to be able to learn, you know, good techniques and that sort of thing. So referring to those videos and just watching them is really helpful. But I mean, this sort of coloring, it's not quick. You can leave it like it is and it will still look nice, and it's not like it's not going to work. It does work. It's just I feel like it could also work with a bit more. And I've noticed as I've been watching this particular person's channel, when she applies the Neocolors or the water paint in layers, it really does work so much better. And I watched her use, I think it was Inktense and Neocolors, and she rubbed the Neocolors onto paper and then she applied it onto her picture, and it really made the world of difference. As far as she just got everything smooth and well blended, and I thought, oh, actually that's what I need to be doing more of. I mean, I didn't do it today, but I am kind of doing it now, and as you can see, it's really blends it out so much better. So at least around here it's looking more natural in a way. So now I'm going to play with these colors and see how do I blend them. So these are just the same blues, and I'm just going to work and seeing how do I pick up and move the pigments around. And this is where it starts to behave more like watercolor paint than a crayon. Like here, I can pull this down. I'm just going to have to pick a color that goes over blue well, because these poor fish are getting so painted. Like here, that's a bit of a line there, so I need to just try to blend that out. And the paper is going to get crinkly and warp because we are using water on it. So the moral of the day, at least what I'm taking away from this experience, is that I actually do need to treat Neocolor IIs as if they were a pan of watercolor paint. It just does give for a much smoother finish. And then I can build up the colors from there. So I'm picking up some of the Prussian blue. And then that darker blue. Which is the Cobalt Blue. And then I want more Prussian Blue down here because it hasn't blended out very well. And then I need that Cobalt Blue. And I can kind of mix it in here like that. Right, so I want more of this Prussian Blue. Okay, so I need more of the Cobalt Blue here. and then the light blue, or the turquoise blue actually, coming in here. And as it dries, it gives you an idea of how the picture is looking and how it's going to look dry. And that's going to help you see any sort of like bits that aren't really working out very well, where you need more white or darker blue. So as you can see, this area here so far is looking quite nice. So I need to smoothen out the rest. So then I take the light blue and I'm just going to bring it around this fish. And sometimes you put a little bit of pigment down, and then sometimes you bring in a bit more water, and it all just works together to help kind of smoothen things out, blend things out for you. I mean, it's already looking much better and less grain. It's looking less streaky. That's the word I'm looking for, streaky. And then you can kind of use the pigments together and just blend them together like you would on a palette. Alright, I need to swap to a smaller brush. I'm busy losing my fish. Oh, lovely. I haven't heard of Sargent Art's watercolor crayons. It'd be interesting to find out how they're different from the Neocolor IIs. I've seen quite a few people use gelatos. Have you used them? I wonder if they're slightly similar. So carry on picking up that light blue with the Prussian blue, and I'm trying to just continue to smoothen this out. Maybe a bit more of that Cobalt Blue. This is just some Cobalt Blue here. So this is looking a lot better. I hope you can see the difference between how I started and how by touching it up, it just really improves the picture. So now up here I need to just work on this. So as you can see, it really is a process. Just because it's watercolor or neocolor, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's necessarily quicker than pencil. I think pencil is definitely your slowest medium, but even with paints, depending on the effect you're going for, it can also be a slow process. I mean, I've spent just about 2 hours just doing water and sky, mainly water, and the bottom half of the water at that. And then if we go the turquoise blue. I mean, it's not too bad on this side. Alright, I think I'm going to leave that for now because honestly we could be doing this all night. Let's move up towards the top of the water and then the sky. So I'm going to use the small brush, and my paper towel is getting very damp. Alright, so I'm going to start in the yellow and work out. And this here you're going to need to be careful because we do want to keep the yellow a bit yellow. So you can go into the yellow, into the green. That sort of way would work. Now, some people will use gouache, and the gouache will be used to try and get rid of any of these black lines. But I'm going to just leave them in and sort of just maybe use a white gel pen on this side here to separate where it's light and, well, underwater and above water. And then we'll deepen up the sky. It could do with another layer or so. So I find with Neocolor IIs, you need almost, in some ways, less layers than watercolor paint. Because if you watch a watercolor artist, they'll do a very, very light, almost like a wash first, and then they'll go on and build up the layers from there. Whereas I find with the Neocolor IIs, if you lay them down quite heavy and you're quite sure of your color, you don't need to necessarily have as many layers. So I might pick up a bit more yellow paint in there and just deepen up these yellows, or I could use a yellow paint pen. So if I pick up on the yellow crayon, okay, let's move back to my watercolors and see if we can do something with this sky. Now I'm going to use quite a wet paintbrush. And I'm going to try and use a bit of a wet on wet approach here. So I'm going to just saturate this a bit. Just see if we can blend this out. if you want to get rid of warpedness in your page, you can always just iron it or put heavy books on, and that will help. Alright, so now I want to pick up a bit of white paint. And if it's not white enough with the white watercolor paint, I will get my white acrylic paints. Oh dear. I don't know how that happened. Okay, so that's gonna have to just stay like that. Yeah. All right, so there's sort of our sun. I didn't want to make it too bright. All right, now let's get the Castle Art Watercolor Pencils out. And I'm going to do some skin tones. So I need number 19, which is Flesh. Now the nice thing with the Castle Arts is you can use them just as a pencil, or you can use them as a paint. Alright, so he needs to dry a little bit more before I color him. So let me move you up a bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to give her, I'll give her like a reddish brown hair. I think that will look nice. So I'm going to use Cadmium Orange Deep. And I think I will also use some gel pens. she's got like these flowers in her hair. How a mermaid has flowers in her hair, I don't know. But she has flowers in her hair. So I think I will use gel pens to do that. Because they're not even like seashells. I would have thought a mermaid would have more seashells. But she has flowers. So I need a little bit of this cobalt turquoise, no, cobalt blue, because this here is water. Okay. Now I've made a big mess because I've got blue in her hair. So by using an orange kind of color for her hair, it will kind of blend over that blue. And then right at the end, I'll use white acrylic paints to sort of get over and create those bubbles again. So now I'm going to get 121, which is somewhere in here. There it is. Which is a walnut brown. Now, I have found with Castle Art Watercolor Pencils, they're not as vibrant as quickly as, let's say, your Inktense pencils are. So these we're going to have to layer up. And we can always use gel pens to add highlights. Now I don't want to focus too much on details because I'm going to use water over this and it's going to blend out anyway. So I'm just going to do just varied shading here. Okay, so something like that. Oh, I didn't know Color had watercolor pencils. That's very interesting and good to know. I think Arteza also has watercolor pencils, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's see. We could give her, yeah, let's bring in some green. So we'll make her a green mermaid. So we'll give her a green tail and like red flowers and a red bikini. Not that I have a broad range of red in here, I must say. Okay, never mind. I think I've got the set of 72 watercolors. And it seems to have more pinks than reds. And I'm looking for 86, which I can't seem to find in here. Oh dear. Well, maybe we'll just do her pink then. It won't hurt. It's pink is a shade of red. Okay, so let's see. If we go 124 and 81. So Opera Rose over here. And Carmine Rose. And then we can do this one. So this is the Opera Rose. And we're just going to have to build up the layers. If the layers don't work, we'll go over it with pencil. Yeah, I thought Arteza had. Okay, so this is part of that because that's his legs. What we could do is give her a bit, maybe some pink in her tail. But I've done that before where I've tried to take pink and green and it didn't quite work. So okay, we need a darker. colors, so these are not in number order. Hence why it's so difficult to find everything. I don't use these a lot. I bought these, they were on special, and then I let the kids use them. So they decided they didn't need to put it in any particular order. So that's why I can't find anything. 126, no, I need something deeper than that. Use this. So this is Purple Lake Deep. Okay, let's wet it and see how it goes. Hi Cindy! I do my lives on a Monday evening, 8 p.m. London time till about 10:30. I am thinking of also doing lives on a Saturday, not necessarily every Saturday, because Saturdays are weekend times and family time. Okay, so I'm using the smaller brush and I'm just trying to activate this. So the key with watercolor paints is to really clean off your brush if you get different colors, and you start with your light to your dark. So I think I am actually going to swap over to pencil for these things, because I don't really like very finicky work with paints. Well, even in general, I like to use a medium that I feel confident and trust. And this is just going to, it's very easy for the blue paint to pick up into the pink paint. And so I'm going to chicken out and I'm going to use pencils for this. But as you can see, it does leave a lovely base. I'm going to have to slowly but surely practice coloring an entire page with watercolor paints. It's part of the checklist challenge to do a whole page in watercolor, and I can feel I'm not ready yet for that. I think I showed off in my February finished pages my attempts at acrylic, and yeah, that's also not going very well. And it's only just really because I don't know how to use those sort of mediums in a very effective way. So as you can see with these Castle Art Watercolors, they will work really lovely for a base, but they don't, they're not very rich. So you don't get a lot of difference between your lights and your darks. And it's just going to take a lot of layers. Which we could do, it's just this particular line art is very detailed and very small, so I'm not convinced that it's necessarily the best. I'm not actually sure what would be the best sort of coloring book to use to try and do something completely in watercolor. So let's move on to something a little bit more familiar. I'm going to have to carry on working on this sky. It's not as smooth as I'd like it to be. Alright, so I'll still stick with the Castle Arts, and I'll just go on to the 72 original Castle Arts. And I will put all the things that I'm using in the description below at the end of the live. So don't worry, I will have you all covered. Alright, so this is Castle Art 020, which is Fleshlight. Now, if you want to make him look like he's getting a nice deep tan or getting some sunburn, you could add quite a bit of red, and that would work. And then here. If you're really adventurous, you could even try to do a reflection in his glasses. Okay, so we need green for the beautiful mermaid's tail. So let's use mint green 107. And I'm just going to apply this as my first layer. I do have some pearl colors, so once we've completed the mermaid, we can always add some beautiful shiny pearl effects. At this point, you could even swap to Artises. I've heard Artises are really good on this paper. I have used Castle Arts before, and I did find they worked quite okay on this paper. They weren't too bad. Alright, so now I want some phthalo green light. And I'm trying to keep this more like a bright, vibrant green. And really what you want to do is create a gradient. So just along the edges you go darker, and then into the middle you go lighter. Let me zoom you in a bit more so you can see her a bit better. If it flickers, it's just because I'm using my fingers to zoom in and it gets a little stuck from time to time. Okay, so carrying on with a phthalo light, green light. And you want to go the deeper dipping parts darker, and then the curved parts you want to do lighter. Okay, so now I want to find my other pencil. Oh well. Now I need a slightly darker green, so let's go Castle Green Deep 057. And then I want to come over this with my mint green again, but I don't need to go right into the middle because I want that lighter, almost white bit to be my highlight. Okay, so now I want a very dark green, so I'm going to use my hooker's green. And I want to deepen underneath here because these are curved underneath her tail, so we're not going to get much light in there. I have used markers in this book, and they also actually work really well on the paper. They blend very well. So if you do like markers, that is another option for you. Okay, so there's her tail. Now if we take some of that pearl colors, and we will get a lovely effect on her tail. And we don't have to go into the very light area. We could go into cheers, Leslie. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for hopping on and saying hello, and I hope you have a better night and that the fibro dies down or calms down. Okay. So I'm using Pearl Mei Green. I don't know if I need an awful lot, so I hope this works. Sort of just following the edges. And all I'm really wanting to achieve with this paint is to just add a shimmer. I'm not really looking at removing what I've used in the pencils. All right, so that's the idea. And then if I use a pink, alizarin crimson, and just come along here and just deepen up her bikini top. And then we can do the same thing over here. Same pencil. If I just bring it down. There we go. So because we've used the watercolor as a base, we don't have to do too much shading. Those are the Gamsai Tambi pearl colors. I quite like them. They do add a lovely shimmer to the page. And they don't really take over the color when you lay them down. So at least the colors kind of peep out. Okay, so I do want a slightly darker pink right in the very deep creases here. So I'm going to go for an Indian red light. Which is number 27 in the Castle Arts. Alright, so there we have it there. Now for these circles. So we're just going to use the mint green, which is 107. I think out of all the pages I have put up on the community to vote for, this was my favorite one. Alright, so I'm going to finish up the circles and then I'm going to say goodnight. So I'm going to use the phthalo green light. Okay, and then I want to go straight into, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. I want to use my Turqouise Green. What time zone are you in, Cindy? We might actually give him bright yellow pants or trousers. All right, back to my mint green, just to blend out a little bit more. Oh, cool. Yeah, the USA has some very interesting time zones. So I think most of the US is behind the UK, right? Depending on which time zone. You're either it could be anywhere from 5 to 9 hours. Okay, so something like that. And then we could actually give him green shades. So if I use the phthalo green, with the Turqouise Green, you'll look like such a cool dude. Yeah, so you're about 5 hours behind me. It's 10:25 in the evening for me. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out so you can have a look, and then I'm going to say good night. And I think even the worm will probably use sorry. I tell you, my fingers and this phone. All right, so there you go. That's how it's looking for now. I need to work out how I'm going to just smoothen that out a bit more, and then I might just come here and just make it a little less bright. It's a bit too bright, but most of the water I'm happy with, so we will carry on with this page in our next live stream, which, if not on Saturday, will definitely be on Monday. I just need to have a look and see what's happening in the weekend. But fingers crossed I can do a Saturday live stream as well as a Monday. So thank you so much for joining me and for chatting. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to love and leave you, and I will see you in the next live stream. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.